Ernest Kaplan now joining us on the line. Ernest, of course, MD of Kaplan Equity Analyst. Ernest, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. Your view on Vodacom and the kind of numbers that it's still able to put through. I mean, Sasha alluding to the fact that maybe we had underestimated its potential and growth potential moving forward.
Thanks, Alicia. And yeah, I think you're right. We tend to underestimate the ongoing growth. But I think this trading statement, HEPS was going to be 20 to 25% up. You've got to just do some adjustments for last year's STC, which won't appear in this year's or this interim's numbers. So I'm looking at reasonably like-for-like comparison, about 12% up, which is still very good, given that, the voice business is pretty slow. So it would mean very good growth, as Sasha pointed out on the data, and it would probably mean further cost cutting or careful cost measures. So I think it looks like it's going to be a fantastic result. It really does.
So, Ernest, you've answered my question actually. I just wondered how much of the STC factor there was in there, but you said if you take everything out on a like-for-like basis, 12%, and you see that as pretty good. And I suppose it is pretty good for a giant company like Vodacom and a very mature company. What do you make of the change in the boardroom? Sasha was suggesting that perhaps it was sort of prompted by the major shareholder, and they may have some. He may bring some fresh ideas, some more innovation than the previous CEO did, despite the fact he put in a very solid performance.
Yeah, I mean it's actually quite coincidental. I attended the Vodacom CEO Awards function on Saturday night, and gave the opportunity for the new CEO Shamil Jusub to give a speech, and I have to say that. He's no stranger to Vodacom. He's been there pretty much since the beginning, and he's a very, very sharp operator. He understands the business intimately from the ground up. So, I'm not saying Peter Ace was not good, or I don't say I know why he is leaving apparently quite early, but, I think Shamil really is a good leader. And I mean, he's young, he's only 41, but I think he's going to bring some good ideas from things he tried in Spain. And he actually pointed out in his speech that, in Spain and in Europe generally, they're about a year ahead of where we are in South Africa. So he's looked at a lot of things that worked and didn't work there, and he's going to try and bring them here. So yeah. I think Vodacom's really got a good team, and it's not just the CEO. I mean, the whole team's really strong. So. Yeah, it's difficult to tell exactly what the reason was for that change, but I think it's going to be good nonetheless.
And certainly, what you need is good leadership, good ideas in what's becoming an increasingly competitive landscape. And what's interesting is that the first half numbers show negligible impact from the price cuts in the South African market, which, as I said, has become more competitive, and it started becoming more competitive from about mid-May.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the mobile operators in the mature markets like South Africa, the problem they have is that their voice business is ex-growth and producing huge amounts of cash. And, everyone talks about data as being the thing that's going to save the day. And it remains to be seen how much data can actually save the giant ship of voice over the next 2 or 3 years, because it still is quite small. And don't forget, despite its growth in consumption, the unit price per megabyte is dropping like a stone as well. So, I guess, going forward, these companies are going to transition from high growth companies to high, sort of stable companies producing huge cash.